The title of my message today is, Are you in the GPS signal? You know, when you have your phone and it's out of signal, you cannot call, you cannot get data, you cannot access your email, you cannot access your text, you cannot check your TikTok and your YouTube, correct? So how do I know if I am in the GPS signal of God? And what does that mean? If you go back to the Old Testament and we see Sarah threw Hagar out of the house and cast her out, and Hagar was in the wilderness with her child, and Hagar was begging God to take care of her and all that stuff, and God did not answer. But then when she cast her baby aside and the baby cried, the angel of the Lord heard the baby crying and came and responded and gave Hagar a solution. She saw water, she was replenished, and then the baby lived. Why did it take the baby to cry for God to listen? Because the baby was of the seed of Abraham, and Abraham was God's friend. Because Abraham was God's friend, the baby was in the GPS signal of God. And so God answered Hagar's prayer. But it was actually the cry of the baby that God answered. So the question today is, how are you getting into God's GPS signal? The answer is Jesus Christ. Do you know Jesus Christ? And do you really know Him as a friend? So that when God looks at you, He sees Jesus. So that when you cry out like that child of Hagar, God looks at His friend Jesus and He says, no, I need to answer that person's prayer. So even today, I just pray for every one of you listening to this call, listening to this live, this short, wherever you're watching, that God Himself, by His Spirit, through His Son Jesus Christ, might bring you into the 4-bar, 5-bar, 5G GPS signal of His presence. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray. Amen.